Hi guys, welcome to today's video. I'm going to be talking you through how to build a mega factory just like this one. Okay, well maybe not exactly like this one, but I want to go over the main things I think are important when building a mega factory. The best way I thought of doing that was to show you round my most recent build, my nuclear power plant. First thing I want to say about this is I used 0 mods. Right now I'm obviously using the advanced game settings just so I can fly around more easily and show you the build better. Only thing I did use, I used Satisfactory calculator just to nudge it over a little bit because when I started didn't realize I was going to hit this cliff on the side here, and I just didn't really want to rebuild this whole thing. So first things first, with building a mega factory is decide obviously what your mega factory is. This one is a nuclear power plant, and I also have this main mega factory which will hopefully build every item in the game I could possibly need when building other factories. But back to this build. So the first thing you need to decide is where to build your factory. I chose in the swamps here, I'm going to be honest, because of the design I chose. Now this build was inspired by a photo I found on Pinterest of this shaped building that was sitting on a waterfall. So with this build I chose this waterfall because it's near all the resources I needed. There was plenty of copper, sulfur, my quartz factory is just over there and I needed some silica, as well as there being a uranium node right underneath this waterfall. That's what led to my decision of putting it here, basically what I wanted it to look like, and the resources on hand, which is normally how you would choose where to put your mega factory. Obviously space is another consideration, making sure you have enough space. This is super tall, so it was alright, although, as you'll see, I still needed more space. I'm not going to go too much over the buses. I'm going to go more into the generalised theory behind how I build a mega factory and why I build them the way I do. But it's nice and clean, nice and simple. There's some nice lighting and stuff on the bus. Goes into this base structure here. I was going for a very industrial look to the base and some of the inside, with all the buses leading cleanly up into the underneath. I wanted to keep the main train line coming in very minimalist because I wanted it to show a contrast between the trains going in and how big the actual base was. And obviously the main feature of this build is this massive, I guess you'd call it a pill shape. This dome took a very long time to do. I'll link to a video by an amazing builder called Pobkac who teaches you how to do this technique. But doing it on this size does take a hell of a long time. I think it took me at least a week of building, but it looks pretty cool. It's not too difficult a technique, it just takes a while, and then I've just added on with bands and colour. So if we go inside, down this bottom layer I have all of my iron being smelted in refineries. I wanted to kind of keep the waterfall in the background as a bit of a feature. I've tried to light it up a bit and keep that central bus heading up. I've also added some grates where the waterfalls come through, so at least it looks a little bit realistic that the water can actually get through here. So carrying on up, we have the train station. This doesn't actually bring anything into the build, it's like a backup. You'll see at the top there's a drone that will eventually take the nuclear waste out, but I have not yet built my battery factory. I'm in the process, and subscribe if you want to see that video when I finish building the factory. But for now, when the storage I have upstairs overflows, it will overflow into this train that keeps going around and take it off to my storage facility. Now, when you're building something of this size, obviously blueprints can really help speed up the process. But in the majority of this lower area, I didn't really use many apart from these lighting struts here, or lighting struts, supports, whatever you want to call them. They're in two segments. There's these segments here. Obviously, they're the same blueprint. Then you have this central column blueprint there. Okay, so carrying on, we have copper ingot production going along here, and then caterium production along the top, and the same mirrored on this side. And then up here we have all my copper sheets being produced. Now, I could have squeezed a lot more into this space, but I really wanted to keep it open, get that whole view of the nice curve without interrupting it too much. Then everything gets fed upstairs in this bus area towards the back end. Here we are now at the rear of the factory where all the pipes lead up to the nuclear reactors, which we'll see later. I'm not gonna lie, this place is not running 100% efficiently right now, just because I'm having trouble with these pipes. Kind of left it alone for a bit because I think it might be the pipe bug, which means full 600 pipes always seem to have an issue and never want to be fully full. But I tried to keep it nice and clean. It's a little bit more busy than the front, but I think it looks quite nice. So moving up to the next level of production. Now, I had hoped to fit all of the production stupidly. I had hoped to fit it all in that dome there. Yeah, I ran out of space rather quickly. So that's another point, is always plan for expansion. Basically, stuff's going to take up way more room than you think it is. So originally, all 3 towers were going to have nuclear power plants in them, but I had to use the front one for production as I ran out of space. Just having a look on the outside here. Again, I tried to keep it quite industrial and supported. Yeah, I tried to keep that theme going. You see, these pillars are blueprints. Nothing really around them is. So all this is done by hand. Anything that's blueprints is those at the side. But again, that helps whenever you have to do something repetitive. Always helps to have a blueprint. So moving inside to this first production area on this level, we have some assemblers building reinforced iron plates. We have Caterium being made and quickwire. I like to try and keep a lot of the belts on show, highlight them. I've tried to keep the platform styles the same as the buses, so you've got a nice theme running through, and you've got some nice little bridges going over to this area as well. So I didn't quite squeeze everything in. Obviously, I ran out a bit of room on the production floors there just because of how I've laid it out. I think I've done a bit nicer job here, where they're encased in little glass cases. So back inside, we have a lot of iron ingots here being used to create wire. So that's an important thing as well, deciding on your recipes. So what recipes you're going to use. I decided the iron wire recipe here because I had an absolute ton of iron free to go, and I think if we move up to the top here, you can see there's a little bit of iron plates and 1 steel rods. And then moving into this final thing, we have a ton of assemblers making a lot more quick wire. Tried to keep it nice and clean in here, keeping the same theme, trying to light the main areas with the orange light, and these little highlights on the platforms with white light. I think it makes a nice contrast. Again, showing off all the belts, I think makes the factory look a lot more alive. Okay, so moving on, I thought this room was a good opportunity just to show you why space is important in a build by showing you the logistics for this room. Yeah, it's pretty tight in here. Nothing clips though, promise. But it's very, I say nothing clips, that wire clips a little bit. But yeah, a little tight. Oh, we got a bit clip in there as well. Yeah, incredibly tight. So even in a big build like this, try and leave yourself lots of room. When I get round to making my video on my mega factory when that's finished, and subscribe if you want to see that. I've left a lot more room for logistics in that, but here, not very much. But it's mainly because I was trying to mirror an image. So I was trying to build to my inspiration image, so I had to fit everything inside the space I had. And so here we are at the kind of top level of production. These are the bases of the 2 towers with nuclear power plants in them. This is fuel rods and pellets over here. There are a lot of manufacturers, and now this is where I really took advantage of blueprints. If I can just show you here, each one of these manufacturer setups is a blueprint, which obviously made setting all this up super quick. So if you can take advantage of blueprints and you have to do repetitive stuff like this, it's very good to use them, because this section of the build went way quicker than the below. So moving into the next bit of production here, again, just trying to keep the theme looking nice, looking on brand. Again, I'm not going into numbers. If you have any questions about what recipes I'm using or the amounts I'm doing things in, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I will answer them the best I can. And into some of the final stages of production. Well, not the final stages of production, that's over there, but some of the final bits you'll see in this video. We've got beacons over here. Again, I know these are going to be removed in 1.0, but this save It's not going to carry on into 1.0, so it's not going to affect that. And then crystal oscillators over here, and then up here, if I avoid the roof, we have lots more crystal oscillators. Again, I use the same blueprints for these manufacturers that I showed you before, and it just goes all the way to the top of the tower. Okay, and on to what is really the end goal really of this, I guess you can consider it as that, is the nuclear power plants themselves. I've encased them all in these nice little frames to hide everything going on, and you just see the fronts here. Again, these surrounds are all blueprints, so I just did the same thing for every one. I think there's about 30-ish, 32, somewhere between 28 and 30. Sorry, I'm really fuzzy on the numbers. I'm not great with numbers. Of these, so obviously I just created these surrounds. Used blueprints to make it nice and easy. All the nuclear waste is going up the edge there. And what are they called? Power cells, that's the word I was looking for, are going up here when you eventually see one. Yeah, I thought they looked quite nice. If you want me to show you more detail about these blueprints, please let me know in the comments. And so that is just mirrored onto 1, 2, 3, 4 floors, and this last floor has only 6 generators. 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 generators, and then to fill up this final gap, I just put some powered storage in. This is a 2-layer blueprint. I'll just show you that. So you got 1, 2 with the roof on. I really got into using blueprints on this build. It saved a hell of a lot of time. As you can see, as we've gone up the layers, I've made more and more use of them, and it did speed up production a lot. So onto the final layer. This is what I was talking to. This is my nuclear. This is the storage, overflow storage I have for the waste. It's getting a bit full now, but there's 2 sides to it. There's that side, each side runs up, and then there's this side, which is getting incredibly full. Eventually though, it will overflow into this here and shoot off down to that train line that I showed you earlier, and shoot off to my storage, which is just a temporary little build. But eventually, once my battery factory is finished, this drone will shoot it over to a nuclear waste processing facility, which I will build when I have that unlocked. The main benefit of having the storage for the nuclear waste up here is that it is very, very high up, as you can see. So that means it doesn't really affect. I can be down at the bottom of this factory and have no problems with irradiating part of the map. So that's a bit of a bonus for this being so tall. The next thing to look at is basically just a quick look around the outside of these towers. Now obviously these are blueprints, which I can show you the sections. There's one corner blueprint, and then there's the wall blueprint, and these outside decorations are blueprints as well. As I've said before, using the blueprints here really helps speed up the top end of this build. Using them for the walls and the decoration meant I can cram a lot more in. So that's it. If you've enjoyed this video, please let me know by dropping a like. If you have any suggestions or anything you've got questions on, or anything you want to see more of, let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see my next video, which I plan to be a world tour of this save so far, and talking about where to get inspiration for different builds, then subscribe, because hopefully that will be coming soon. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.